Okay, everything that I've said so far has come to be true. I'd like to hear one. The media says Breitbart lies, Breitbart lies, Breitbart lies, Breitbart lies. Give me one example of a provable lie. One. One. Journalists, one. Put your reputation on the line here. One provable lie.
Then why won't you release the photo?
You know what I would be accused of if I released this photo? I'm doing this to save his family, okay? And if this guy wants to start fighting with me again, I have this photo. But I absolutely do. I'm not doing this for nefarious purposes. I'd like an apology from him for allowing for his political protectors, which this was his strategy, was to blame me for hacking. Oh, don't worry. Breitbart's our regular whipping boy. We can accuse him of anything, and the press will not hold those journalists to account no matter what they say. And so I'm here for some vindication. They don't care. It's disgusting.
Well, was there actual prostitution involved?
I don't know. Go find him. What?
So was there actual prostitution involved in what you exposed?
They posed as a pimp and a hooker. I don't understand what you're talking about. Why do you think that's a point? Why don't you care about Acorn?
No, I don't.
Why don't you care about Acorn?
So
why do you care about the nuances? Did you see the tapes? Are you insane? Are you so? Is your ideology so strong that when Acorn in almost every office except for one, are you so insane that they help them create 501c3s and say, for this underage, Mike Madden, for this underage prostitution ring where we're going to get these 14-year-old girls. It's called sex slavery. You're supposed to be liberal and care about this shit.
Right, but I mean,
you don't care.
Well, there's a difference between actual sex slavery and imaginary sex slavery, isn't there?
Okay, Acorn went into Acorn.
Sorry to bother you, but we actually need to break this up. We're trying to
Acorn, let's move. I won't trip you. I won't trip you. Acorn went into a Jackson Hewitt office with NBC and did a fake video. You go around saying, Acorn, why do you pose under false pretenses with NBC to expose something when you're not actually trying to pursue a loan? You're trying to expose Jackson Hewitt as being a bad operation. You don't care when Salon Magazine goes undercover and tries to get people, get a disease. That's what Dan Savage did. How sick are you? How sick are you? That's what you did. Salon Magazine used a journalist to pose as a Christian to work for Gary Bauer. He was sick. His entire article was about putting snot on the telephone, on his pen. He insinuated that he'd stuck it in some pretty nasty places because he wanted to get Christians sick. And you're asking me about journalism? You've got to be kidding me, buddy. Okay. I cannot believe that you're fighting your father's battles. I can't believe what you did to Christopher Hitchens. You have been programmed by some ungodly preacher to be this character of hatred. Accusing a person of racism is the worst thing that you can do in this country. I'm not at all. He's a despicable. Of course I'm not. No, it isn't. No, you. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I mean, this is an event.
This is an event.
Kevin Martin was there debating at the Georgetown Law Center. You're this smearing. Wait. Make your case. Make your case. This isn't a case. This is guilt by association, you punk. Because you're a punk. You destroy people. Because you try and destroy people's lives through innuendo. Innuendo. We're done with
James
you.
O'Keefe a racist? Are you saying you didn't call James
Innuendo. Innuendo in order to destroy people's lives. You're the most despicable life form I've ever seen.
You didn't call anyone a name.
Published Shirley Sherrod's comments, the 136 seconds, and your voluminous article, as you rightly point out. Why didn't you stand up and defend her and say, actually, she's not a racist? Why did you write things like she's racially discriminated against a white farmer?
Because the rest of the video showed different things that illuminated something that was not as black and white as you would like.
We use some bits of the information and we don't use others.
No, she said
that's what we do.
Why don't you hold her accountable for saying that I wanted to bring black people back to slavery? She, on day one, said this was the NAACP's fault. A week later, she said, this has nothing to do with the NAACP. This is about Andrew Breitbart. Somebody told her, we need to target Andrew Breitbart at this point. She, on day one, the NAACP understood perfectly well what the context of this video was, and I successfully stopped their waging the campaign that MSNBC was party to try to falsely frame the Tea Party as racist.
I wasn't working here.
I'm not talking about MSNBC.
Let me move on to the book. I'm trying to focus on your book. I'm pulling out material from your book. In the book, you talk about bloggers, citizen journalists, who have implied that the president's autobiography, Dreams from My Father, was written by, quote, I'm quoting, the domestic terrorist Bill Ayers.
Yes, I think that's first of all.
Is there any evidence? Is there any evidence to support that?
The Jack Cashel articles on that are very compelling. It's clearly a
what is the evidence?
It's clearly a theory.
What is the evidence?
And I said that I believe it. And
what
this is
the
an opinion.
evidence?
You're not going to shut down dissent in this country. I believe it to the core of my being.
I'm asking you to evidence the fact
Read the Jack Cashel article. I believe that it's a compelling argument. It's a very complex argument, but I would say the most.
Mr. Ayers has denied doing this.
He's also said that he has.
But he's denied.
But he's also said that he has.
Ghostwriting the autobiography.
But he also has said that he has. He has also said that he has.
Here we have a problem, you see, because we have.
I'm allowed to have this opinion.
Shirley Sherrod, we have Rush, we have you quoting people suggesting that they're ghostwriters. Do you see how
there's nothing wrong with having? If you've read through my entire book, you didn't read my book. Media Matters read it for you. I've
marked it up. I've read the whole thing.
Every single point that you've offered is straight out of George Soros's funded and John Podesta's led Media Matters. You are playing the role of a dupe of John Podesta and Eric Bullard and Media Matters. Every time I appear on MSNBC, or a lot of times, there's Eric Bullard from Media Matters to be right there. Those are talking points straight out of Media Matters.
You and I are having a conversation about truth.
We are. And Media Matters is over there. George Soros is sitting over there, and Bill Ayers is sitting over here. Well, you have agenda-driven journalism. I support it. I support MSNBC. I support Keith Olbermann when he was fined by MSNBC, because the implication that he was giving money was somehow ethically wrong when everybody knows where he comes from. Everybody knows where you're coming from. I believe in a back and forth.
Andrew. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
My name is Andrew Breitbart. I'm the publisher of a website by the name of Big Government. I swear to God, this is a chance occurrence that I'm here. I had no idea that you would be here. I have a question for you. You spoke about hatred fomenting in this country. You alluded to homophobia and racism, being an undercurrent of what you're seeing out there. I put out $100,000 to show any proof that the N-word was said 2 weeks ago, and I have gotten no responses on it. Regarding organized labor, which I've long supported in my life, I was at the Tea Party in Searchlight when I was just standing there, and organized labor started to attack the Tea Party bus. I have it on video. We have the names of the people who did the attacking, and that the person was working in coordination with the Democratic field director of Nevada, by the guy by the name of Brian DiMarzio. We've outed the people. Kenneth Gladney was attacked. He had the N-word thrown at him. He was attacked by 2 SEIU thugs. Okay? My question is, well, this speaks to the narrative about hatred. Let me finish by, do you think that I don't have a valid point that I'm making here?
Get to it. I mean, I'm happy to.
Well, I'm telling you that the hatred that I have seen during this debate over the last year and a half, the incidents of violence have happened by organized labor getting caught on tape attacking Tea Party people, and Kenneth Gladney was called the N-word, okay? And so I would like for you to denounce that behavior and to help me investigate what happened with those 2 guys who were arrested. Will you help me look into the attack on the Tea Party bus by organized labor by the IBEW 357 and the SEIU in St. Louis?
Look, first of all, I wish I were able to be here tomorrow after you give your talk, so I can ask. I would love to have. I'll be in a different place. I wish I were able to do that. First of all, violence of any sort is not called for. But let me tell you what I witnessed personally when I went up to the Hill on the day of the health care vote. The Tea Party people were there. I watched them spit at people. I watched them call John Lewis the N-word.
So you heard that?
Yeah, we did. We did. We did indeed. Wait a second. We did hear that. And if violence on any side, violence on any side, I don't care who does it, I don't care who does it, is wrong.
The hostility is lovely. Thank you.
Their anger. Their anger. Just like if you walked past, when I walked past the Tea Party people, they were angry at me. They know what I stand for.
Evidence to show that these people have expressed
Really?
racism or homophobia.
Really?
You've created
I witnessed it.
You've created
I witnessed it. I saw it in person. That's real
There
evidence.
were 10,000 video cameras. Barack Obama is a radical. We should not be afraid to say that. Okay? And Barack Obama was launched from Bill and Bernadine's salon. I've been there. It became a self-evident truth to me that there's zero chance that this incredible chef did not cook many a meal for Barack Obama. Don't tell me ABC, CBS, and NBC I don't have the, that I can't posit that theory, because it's a self-evident truth. Just like it was a self-evident truth that he was with Jeremiah Wright, and just as it's a self-evident truth that when he was at Harvard, he was advocating for the worst of the worst to join the faculty. Radicals at Beirut on the Charles. And that is who's in the White House, and that's who's outside right now telling you you don't have a right to be here, and who would squelch your free speech just as easily they do at Harvard, Vassar, Yale, Wesleyan. They're a bunch of totalitarian freaks.
And to me, my one discovery, my one great epiphany, my one aha moment that I said, I got it. I see what exactly happened with in this country. The Frankfurt School were emigres from
Germany, Austria.
Germany. It was the equivalent of this. The Hoover Institution. What the Hoover Institution is to Stanford University. The Frankfurt School was a think tank at the University of Frankfurt, and they were social scientists like Herbert Marcuse, Antonio Gramsci, Horkheimer, Adorno. These were all a bunch of guys in the middle of World War II who had suffered in Europe, 2 world wars in a row, and they had been fighting. They had been fighting the Nazis, and they were trying to figure out another aspect of how to how to spread Marxism around the world. You could go to Bolivia, you could go to Bulgaria, and you could go to the peasant class, and you could say, let's flip this place. The Marxist-Stallman argument of getting the workers to get upset at the owners was very easy, but not in America, where the middle class was invested in their productivity, invested in the concept that they could have their own small little American dream, a white picket fence, that they could invent something and go from one generation to being dirt poor to being an owner within a very quick period of time. And what these guys figured out when they came to the United States, and Adorno is the one that drives me the most crazy. He came out to California, and I think it was Bertolt Brecht, the East German playwright, moved to Santa Monica in the 1940s at the height of the Golden Age. Think about this. These guys left Nazi Germany and Mussolini's Italy to come to California in the 1940s, and they lived by the beach, and they were depressed by the relentless cheeriness, the productivity, and the capitalism that they witnessed around them. And they came up with at the end of the day, we could call it cultural Marxism, but at the end of the day, we experience it on a day-to-day basis. And by that I mean a minute-by-minute, second-by-second basis. It's political correctness and it's multiculturalism. And what it took was this amazing concept of e pluribus unum, where everybody comes here and contributes to this, everybody becomes an American and contributes, but we have a common culture, we have a common border, a common mindset. What they did was take the haves versus have-nots friction and translated it into oppressor versus the oppressed. And
this got taken up by faculties across the country.
That's
the point of the Frankfurt School and the progressivism.
They
it becomes embraced by 60s
post-structuralism,
academics.
Post-structuralism, queer studies, African American studies, all of that is pitting people against each other. It is anti-American to its core.
If Marcuse was I'm quoting again from Righteous Indignation, if Marcuse was the Jesus of the New Left, then Saul Alinsky was his St. Paul. Again, let me just put it to you in simple terms. Who's Saul Alinsky, and why should anyone watching this interview care?
Well, Hillary Clinton wrote her senior thesis on Saul Alinsky at Wellesley. Barack Obama is an acolyte of Saul Alinsky. He created the concept of community organizing, and what he did, as I argue in this book, is he took all of this ethereal claptrap, this Noam Chomsky-like jargon that the average person couldn't understand.
Herbert Marcuse is very hard to read.
Right, it's all impossible to read. But he was able to translate this cultural Marxist down to a series of rules and a mindset, a warrior mindset, where the critical theory was like, take on your enemy, take him directly on, destroy that person. He applied critical theory down to the street war level, and I would argue that the Katie Courics of the world, the Chris Matthews of the world, Rachel Maddow, and Keith Olbermann, unbeknownst even to themselves, are studied in the tactics of Alinsky.
Even know what you're protesting. How much are you getting paid? You will be the last to find out you've been duped. Enjoy yourself. You don't even know why you're here. You don't understand why you're here. You don't understand why you're here. How much are you getting paid?
We know very well
How much
why
are you
we're
getting
here.
paid?
We're not getting paid.
paid.
We're not paying anybody. Nobody's getting paid. We are here.
Are you here to stop the hate?
Yes.
Are you a hateful man?
I'm certainly not.
You're hateful.
I'm a peaceful man.
What are you here for?
I am here to stop the hate that Glenn Beck is promulgating.
Like
in this
what?
country.
One thing that he said that's hateful. One thing that he said that's hateful. One, not 100. One.
I'm not going to fall into your trap.
One. It's a trap. Truth is a trap.
He should not be allowed
to take that
from us.
Why is he a coward? Why is he a coward? Why is he a coward? Your sign says Beck is a coward. Why is he a coward?
Because
why is he a coward?
He stands there on his.
I'm asking him. That's what his sign
He stands in his TV show. It just, you know what?
Why is he a coward? Your sign has a very clear statement. Why? SEIU. Who here is from SEIU? Gee, do you remember when SEIU beat up Kenneth Gladney, the black man? How did you feel about that? How did you feel about that? That's hatred. That's hatred. That's hatred.
Ma'am, are you homophobic?
That's hatred. What has Beck lied about? I'm going to go sign by sign. What has he lied about? Name one lie.
Probably everything.
Probably everything. Good quote. There you go. Is there a single person here willing to back up what your sign has to say? Is there a single person whose sign is backed up by truth? Behave yourself! 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 You are freaks and animals! You're freaks and animals! Behave yourself! Behave yourself! Behave!
Racist, sexist, anti-gay, right-wing bigots, go away! Racist,